Let's dig deeper into those numbers with Nderi. He's in charge of corporate advisory services at ABC Capital, who's been looking at Kenya Airways numbers in detail. Let's start with your broad impressions of the results that have come out today. We knew the numbers from the airline are going to be bad, but did you expect them to be this bad?
Following the 10 billion half-year loss, of course, a simple mathematical projection of multiplying that by two times, I mean, you would have gotten 20 billion shilling loss. But now I think it became much, much worse than I think we expected. 29 billion, we didn't expect that.
Indeed. Moving on though, given Mr. Mbuvi's presentation, do you think this was a case of him essentially consolidating all the bad news in one go and let's just get it out of the way? Or do you still expect more grenades to come?
Well, first things first, the operating environment doesn't seem to be improving. The airline industry typically is a very, the structure is very rigid, the cost structure at least. So take into the account that they have rather thin margins, and they also have a very rigid cost structure. We don't think it looks good
at all. I mean, let's look at net finance costs. I mean, this has just been growing year after year after year to somewhere in the region of 4 billion shillings in the last fiscal year. Should the expansion plan be suspended or stopped altogether?
No, they need to stop and probably even consolidate themselves, because as we speak today, they have no equity. They're insolvent, literally. So from where we stand, they need to start consolidating, get those cabin factor numbers up, and hopefully that will spill over into operating profits, and then now we can talk about a recovery.
Indeed. Let's look at the dollar though. Isn't this really the 800-pound gorilla in the room? It's just getting stronger and stronger, and the sub-Saharan currencies, especially in the markets in which it operates, Kenya, South Africa, if you're looking at places like Nigeria, all those currencies are becoming a lot weaker. Won't that just make the odds of their recovery that much more intense?
Actually, my concern is not too much about dollar strength, but local currency weakness, because that has an effect on demand. And when you talk about collapse of demand, then you're talking about weaker revenue numbers going forward, which is not a good thing. So that will be primarily my concern. Strong dollar numbers, I mean, strong dollar will probably boost foreign demand, perhaps because now it's probably cheaper, but it's local demand that is of concern at this point.
Right. Was there any talk of fleet optimization in order to bring up those cabin factor numbers up? I remember that in their case, specifically for KQ in that fiscal year, they're talking about cabin factor numbers in the low 60s, guys like Delta in the high 80s. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, again, that just tells you there's weak demand for their services, perhaps a pricing issue. Maybe they need to, push down their prices and see if that will boost usage of the airline, and as a result, perhaps also boost cabin factor numbers and usage of their assets, and probably that will push them into a profitability position. I think that's one of the quick wins they could secure. The other one I think that is available to them is the agreements with the Kenya Airports Authority, going by the fact that they have the same shareholder in both across the table. Perhaps they could negotiate lower fees and give them some breathing room, and perhaps even look at the taxation structure as well. I think that is also another source of stress.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. As always, thank you very much for your time. We've been speaking to Nderi, of course, in charge of corporate advisory services at ABC Capital.